I watched my husband inject something into our 13-year-old son's arm. And the worst part? I did nothing. For 6 months. That night changed everything. But it started long before I knew. Before I tell you how I found out, I need you to do something. Leave a comment below telling me where you're watching from. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Because this story, it's not just mine. It might be someone you know, and it needs to be heard. I'm 52 years old. Been married to Michael for 25 years. We live in the suburbs. The kind of neighborhood where people wave from their porches and kids ride bikes until the streetlights come on. Our house was everything I ever wanted. Wide kitchen with the morning sun pouring through. Backyard with a swing set Ryan outgrew years ago. His room upstairs, second door on the left. I made coffee every morning at 6. Michael left for work at 7. Ryan caught the bus at 7:30. We were the family people smiled at. The family people envied. But behind our locked doors, something was breaking. I thought I knew my husband. Thought I knew what happened in our home when the lights went out and the doors closed. I was wrong. And by the time I found out, my son had been suffering in silence for months. This is the story of how I almost lost him, and how I got him back. It started on a Tuesday night, the night I heard the lock click. It had been going on for 6 months. Every night at 9, Michael would go upstairs to Ryan's room. Father-son time, he called it. Started right after Ryan turned 13. Back in March, I thought it was sweet at first. Michael had always wanted to be close to our son, better than his own father was to him. Those first few weeks, I'd stand at the kitchen sink doing dishes, listening to their voices drift down from upstairs. Laughter, the low rumble of Michael teaching, the higher pitch of Ryan learning. It sounded like everything a home should be. Then came that Tuesday. I was at the sink like always, hands in soapy water, plate in one hand, sponge in the other, waiting for the sounds I'd grown used to, the easy back and forth, the warmth, but I heard something different. Not laughter, something else, a tone I couldn't place. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, dish towel in my hands, just listening. Then I heard it, the lock, the deadbolt Michael had installed on Ryan's door last month. He said it was for privacy, said boys that age need their own space. I didn't question it then. But hearing it click from the inside made something in my chest pull tight. Boys need privacy, I told myself. Ryan's getting older. This is normal. I dried my hands on the dish towel, slow, careful, like I was buying time to convince myself of something I didn't quite believe. My hands stilled in the soapy water. The house felt different. The same walls, the same floors, but the air had changed. Something I couldn't name, couldn't see, just felt. I went back to the dishes, scrubbed harder than I needed to. The water ran cold. I didn't notice. Upstairs, the voices continued, too quiet to make out words, just the shape of them. Michael's deep and steady, Ryan's softer, smaller. I told myself it was nothing, told myself I was being paranoid, told myself that good mothers don't spy on their husbands and sons, good mothers trust. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, Michael beside me, his breathing even and slow, the sound of a man with nothing on his conscience. And I stared at the ceiling, counting the hours until morning, wondering why my hands wouldn't stop shaking, why my chest felt like something was sitting on it, why every time I closed my eyes, all I could hear was that lock clicking shut. Something in my chest pulled tight, and it wouldn't let go. The next night, I made sure I was upstairs when 9 o'clock came around. I folded towels in the hallway, slowly, organizing the linen closet that didn't need organizing, keeping my hands busy so it looked like I had a reason to be there. Their door was closed, but I could hear Michael's voice through it, low, patient, like he was explaining something, teaching something. Then Ryan. But Dad, I don't want to. The words cut off. I took a step closer, the towel tight in my hands. Michael's voice again, firm but not angry, just final, like the conversation was over whether Ryan wanted it to be or not. I was about to knock, about to ask if everything was okay. My hand was already rising. Then the door opened. Michael stood there, looking down at me from the top step. Not surprised, not angry, just watchful. "Honey?" Need something? The hallway light behind him made his face hard to read, but I could see his eyes, clear, steady, nothing to hide, or everything to hide pretending to be nothing. I held up the towel like it explained everything. Just putting these away. He smiled. That smile I'd known for 25 years, the one that used to make me feel safe. We're good here, just guy talk. He stood there, waiting for me to leave, not moving aside, not inviting me in. The door only opened wide enough for his body to fill the frame. Behind him, I couldn't see Ryan, couldn't hear him, just Michael blocking the view, blocking the sound. My heart was pounding. I could feel it in my throat, in my fingertips still gripping that towel. I smiled, said I was just getting towels. That's all, just towels. Michael nodded, still smiling, still watching. Then he closed the door. I stood there in the hallway, yellow light, long shadows, the towel in my hands, and my heart pounding. The next morning, I made breakfast like always. Eggs, toast, orange juice in the blue glasses. Michael came down first, kissed my cheek, poured his coffee, same as every morning. Then Ryan. He sat at the table and stared at his plate. Dark circles under his eyes, shoulders curved forward like he was trying to make himself smaller. I tried to keep my voice light. How was your talk with Ryan last night? Michael smiled over his coffee cup. Good. We're just working on some life skills. Ryan didn't look up, didn't touch his eggs, didn't move. What kind of life skills? Michael's smile didn't change. Guy stuff. You know how it is. That phrase, guy stuff. Like I wasn't allowed to ask. Like there was a world between them I had no right to enter. The world of fathers and sons. The world where mothers don't belong. I looked at Ryan. Really looked. The way his hands lay flat on the table. The way he kept his eyes down. The way he sat so still it was like he was afraid to take up space. Michael reached over, put his hand on Ryan's shoulder, gave it a squeeze. Right, buddy? Ryan nodded, small, quick. Michael's hand stayed there, heavy on Ryan's thin shoulder, and I watched my son shrink even further under the weight of it. I wanted to ask more. Wanted to reach across the table and pull Ryan toward me. Wanted to demand answers. But I didn't. Ryan stood up, left his eggs untouched, left the table without a word. That night, I lay in bed. Michael was still upstairs with Ryan. It was 10:45, an hour and 45 minutes since he'd gone up. I watched the clock, listened to the silence above me, then a sound. Small, like something falling, then nothing. My body wanted to move, get up, go upstairs, but I couldn't, like something was holding me down. Michael came to bed at 10:50, didn't say anything, just climbed in, turned his back to me. I kept my eyes closed, kept my breathing slow and steady, pretending to sleep while my heart hammered against my ribs. The next morning, I went into Ryan's room after he left for school. I told myself I was just tidying up, just being a mother, just doing what mothers do. But I was looking for something. I didn't know what. I found a shirt in the corner, picked it up. There was a wet spot on the sleeve, not water, something else. The smell was strange, chemical, sharp. Under his pillow, a small notebook, locked, no key anywhere. I looked around the room. Everything too neat, too organized. Not like a 13-year-old's room. Like someone else had arranged it. Like someone else was in control. In the trash can, I found gauze. Used, a small spot of blood dried into the fabric. I put everything back exactly where I found it. But I couldn't unsee it. The next 3 nights, it happened again. Every night at 9, Michael went upstairs. The door closed, the lock clicked, and I stood at the bottom of the stairs, listening. On the 4th night, I got closer. Stood right outside the door, close enough to hear through the wood. Michael's voice, "You have to trust me on this." Ryan's voice, smaller, shaking. "It hurts." Michael again, "I know. But this is how you become a man." My hand went to the doorknob, cold metal under my palm, my whole arm shaking. But I didn't turn it, didn't knock, didn't stop it. Because part of me was afraid. Afraid of what I'd see, afraid of what it would mean, afraid that once I knew, I couldn't unknow. The 5th night. "Just a little more. You're almost there." The sixth night, a sound I'll never forget. Ryan crying, quiet, like he was trying to hide it, like he'd learned that crying made things worse. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at Michael, I saw a stranger. Every time I looked at Ryan, I saw pain he was trying to hide. "You're his mother," a voice in my head kept saying. "Do something." On the seventh night, I didn't go upstairs. I sat in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. If I don't find out what's happening, I'll lose him. Not lose him like he'd be gone. Lose him like he'd still be here but empty. Like whatever made him, Ryan would be hollowed out, and I'd be left with just the shell of my son. His trust, his safety, his childhood, all of it slipping away while I stood by and told myself it was fine. I need proof. Real proof. I looked up at the ceiling, at the footsteps moving back and forth in Ryan's room, at the life happening above me that I wasn't allowed to see, at the locked door I'd been too afraid to open. That night, I made a decision. The next morning, I ordered a camera. Michael left for work at 7. Ryan caught the bus at 7:30. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, cold coffee in my cup, hands shaking so hard I could barely type. Hidden camera, small wireless. I scrolled through pages, looking for something small enough to hide, something that wouldn't be noticed, something that would show me what I needed to see. I picked one, small enough to fit inside a picture frame, ordered rush delivery, same day if possible. Then I sat there, staring at the confirmation email. Am I crazy? Am I destroying my family over nothing? But I knew the answer. I'd known it since that first night I heard the lock click. At 3 in the afternoon, my phone rang. My sister, Linda. We talked about nothing for a while. Her kids, her job, the weather. Then I heard myself say it. "Have you ever felt like something's wrong but you can't name it?" Linda went quiet. "In your marriage?" "No, not exactly. It's about how Michael is with Ryan." Silence on the other end. "Has he ever hurt him?" "I don't know. That's what scares me." "Trust your gut," Linda said. "Always." "What if I'm wrong? What if you're right?" After we hung up, I sat there holding the phone, the words hanging in the air. What if you're right? The doorbell rang at 3:15. I opened the door. Small, brown box, light, almost nothing. I held it in my hands, this tiny camera that weighed barely anything, but it felt heavy, like holding the weight of what came next, the weight of knowing, the weight of not being able to pretend anymore. Part of me wanted to be wrong. The other part already knew I wasn't. I held that camera in my hand, and I knew there was no turning back. That evening, I made Ryan's favorite. Mac and cheese from scratch. The way he liked it with the breadcrumbs on top. Michael came home with flowers. "Just because," he said. We sat at the table, the three of us, candles lit, everything warm and soft and normal. Michael told a story from work, something funny that happened with a client. Ryan laughed. A real laugh, the kind I hadn't heard in weeks. For a moment, I wondered if I'd imagined it all. If I was making something out of nothing. If the camera hidden in my purse under the counter was a mistake I'd regret forever. Michael reached across the table, put his hand over mine. "You okay? You seem distant." "I'm fine. Just tired." Ryan looked up from his plate. "Mom, this is really good." He smiled, small but real, and I felt something crack inside my chest. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was just stress, just adolescence, just fathers and sons figuring out how to be men together. The candles flickered. The kitchen smelled like butter and cheese and home. Michael's hand was warm on mine. Ryan was smiling. Everything looked perfect. Everything felt like a lie. At 9 o'clock, Michael stood up, stretched, looked at Ryan. "Come on, buddy. Let's go upstairs." And my heart sank. Ryan's smile disappeared. His shoulders dropped. He pushed his plate away. All that warmth, all that light, gone in a second. Michael's hand on Ryan's shoulder, guiding him toward the stairs. And my heart sank. The next morning, I waited until they were both gone. Then I went upstairs. Ryan's room. Second door on the left. The room I'd walked into thousands of times. But today it felt different. Like I was trespassing. Like I was about to break something I couldn't fix. I took the camera out of the box. So small. Smaller than I'd imagined. Just a black circle, a lens, a button. I set it on the bookshelf. Inside the frame of a photo of Ryan at his last baseball game, smiling, before everything changed. The camera fit perfectly behind the glass. You couldn't see it unless you knew to look. I tested the angle, could see the bed, the door, most of the room. Then I left. Closed the door, went downstairs and tried to act normal. That night, Michael went upstairs at 9, same as always. Ryan followed, same as always. I sat on the couch, phone in my hand, the app open, screen glowing in the dark living room. I watched them walk into frame. Michael closed the door, locked it. I heard the click even through the phone. Ryan sat on the bed, head down, shoulders curved. Michael walked over to the closet, reached up to the top shelf, pulled down a black bag I'd never seen before. He set it on the bed, unzipped it. My hands started shaking. Inside the bag, bottles, syringes, rubber bands, things I didn't have names for. Michael pulled out a syringe, held it up to the light, tapped it. "This will help you. You'll thank me later." Ryan's voice, small, broken. "Dad, I don't want to do this anymore." Michael didn't look at him, just kept preparing the needle. "You're weak. This is the only way you'll be strong enough." I watched Michael tie the rubber band around Ryan's arm, watched him find the vein, watched him push the needle in, watched my son's face twist in pain, watched him try not to cry. On the desk, I could see the bottles, the labels, words I had to squint to read on the small screen. Testosterone, Anavar, things that didn't belong in a 13-year-old's room. This wasn't discipline, this wasn't tough love, this wasn't father-son bonding. This was poison. Michael was injecting steroids into our son, had been for months, maybe longer. Because Michael used to play football, used to be someone, until he blew out his knee junior year, lost his scholarship, lost his future. And now he was trying to build that future in Ryan. Didn't matter what it cost, didn't matter what it did to his body, to his mind, to his childhood. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. On the screen, Michael was talking, telling Ryan about practice tomorrow, about the game next week, about the scouts that would be watching, about the scholarship they'd earn together. Not Ryan would earn, they would earn. Like Ryan was just a vessel, just a second chance, just a way for Michael to relive the life he'd lost. Ryan sat there, needle still in his arm, eyes empty. I watched for 10 more minutes, watched Michael put everything away, hide the bag back in the closet, watched him ruffle Ryan's hair like nothing had happened, like he'd just helped with homework. Then I saved the video. And I made a call. I saved the video, backed it up 3 times, cloud, computer, external drive. Then I sat there in the dark living room, phone still in my hand, screen still glowing. I didn't cry. Couldn't. Like my body had gone into shock, like the part of me that knew how to cry had shut down completely. At 10:30, Michael came downstairs, smiling, that same easy smile. "He's asleep." Good. My voice sounded flat, dead, but he didn't notice, or didn't care. "You sure you're okay?" "Yeah. Just need some air." I walked out to the backyard, stood under the sky, stars out, crickets singing, wind moving through the trees. Everything peaceful, everything normal, everything wrong. How long has this been happening? I ran through the timeline in my head. 6 months, Michael had said at breakfast weeks ago. But now I wasn't sure. How much had I missed? How many signs had I ignored? 6 months ago, Ryan started going to the gym. Michael's idea said it would be good for him. Build character, build strength. I thought it was sweet. Father and son, doing something together. Ryan's body changed fast. Too fast. I told myself it was puberty. 13-year-old boys grow like weeds. That's what everyone says. But it wasn't puberty. The nights Ryan threw up in the bathroom, Michael said it was just a bug, just something going around. I'd believed him. The mood swings. The anger that came out of nowhere. Michael said it was hormones. Teenagers. Normal. The headaches Ryan complained about. The acne that appeared overnight. The way he'd stopped hanging out with his friends. All of it. All those months, and I'd told myself it was fine. I should have known. I should have asked more questions. I was his mother. And I failed him. The night air was cold on my skin. I could see the light from the living room window. Warm, inviting, the home I'd built, the life I'd made. All of it built on something rotten. Something I hadn't seen, hadn't wanted to see. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I couldn't go back inside. Couldn't face Michael. Couldn't pretend everything was fine when I knew what he'd done, what he was still doing. If I looked at him now, I'd scream. Or worse. I needed a plan. Needed to think. Needed to make sure Ryan was safe before Michael realized I knew. Because men like Michael don't just stop, don't just apologize. They fight, they lie, they make you think you're crazy for questioning them. I'd seen it before, in other families. Other mothers who'd tried to protect their kids, mothers who'd lost custody because they couldn't prove what they knew in their gut. I needed proof that would hold up in court, proof that no one could deny, proof that would keep Ryan safe even if Michael tried to turn this around on me. The video was a start, but I needed more. I went back inside. Michael was watching TV, didn't look up. "I'm going to bed." He nodded, still didn't look. I climbed the stairs, walked past Ryan's door, wanted to go in, wanted to wake him up, wanted to tell him it was over, that I knew, that he was safe. But I couldn't, not yet. I went to the guest room instead, closed the door, sat on the bed in the dark. That night, I slept in the guest room, and I started planning. I woke up at 5 a.m, before the alarm, before the sun, made a list in my head. 1. Call Dr. Harris, our family doctor. Get Ryan in today. 2. Call Janet, my college roommate, the one who became a family lawyer, the one I hadn't talked to in 3 years. 3. Back up the video again, email it somewhere safe, somewhere Michael couldn't delete it. 4. Talk to Ryan, alone. First things first, I needed proof that would hold up. At 8 a.m, I called Dr. Harris. "I need to bring Ryan in. I think he's been given something." "What do you mean?" "Performance-enhancing drugs." Without his consent, there was silence on the other end. Then his voice changed. Lower, more serious. "Who's giving him these drugs?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. He understood. "Bring him in today. 2:00. I hung up, dialed Janet. Hadn't talked to her since her wedding 3 years ago. But I knew she'd pick up. She always did. The phone rang twice. Janet Wilson. "It's me." I sent her the video, encrypted email, watched the little sending bar fill up, watched it say delivered. 2 minutes later, my phone rang. Her voice was shaking. "This is child abuse. We need to file immediately. I want him out of the house. Today? I can get an emergency restraining order. But you need to be sure, once we do this, there's no going back." "I'm sure." I looked out the window. Michael was watering the lawn, waving at the neighbor, playing the role of perfect husband, perfect father. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My voice was steady, clear. Everything I'd been feeling for the past week, the fear, the doubt, the guilt, it all crystallized into something harder, something colder. Now I just had to get through the day without him knowing. At noon, I told Michael I was taking Ryan to the dentist. I thought that was next week. They had a cancellation. He looked at me, just a second too long, like he was trying to read something in my face. Then he nodded, went back to his laptop. I got Ryan from his room. He looked confused. "I don't have an appointment." "I know, honey. We're going somewhere else." In the car, we drove in silence. Ryan stared out the window. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I pulled into the park, the one with the empty parking lot, the one where no one would see us. I turned off the car. "Where are we going?" "To see Dr. Harris. But first, I need to talk to you." Ryan went still, his whole body tensed. "David, I know what your father's been doing." His face went pale. He looked away, looked at his hands, looked anywhere but at me. "You don't have to protect him. This isn't your fault." And then he broke, just collapsed into himself, started crying, real crying, the kind that comes from somewhere deep, the kind that's been held in too long. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't want to." He said I had to. I reached over, pulled him to me, felt his whole body shaking. He said if I didn't, I'd be a failure. Like him. Those words. Like him. Michael had put his own shame onto our son. His own regret. His own broken dreams. We sat there in the parking lot. Ryan crying into my shoulder. Me holding him like I should have been holding him for months. We drove to the doctor. And I knew after today, nothing would be the same. Dr. Harris examined Ryan in silence. Took blood. Measured his blood pressure. Looked at his arms. His legs. The injection sites. "How long has this been going on?" Ryan looked at me, then back at the doctor. 6 months, maybe more. Dr. Harris wrote everything down. Every word. Every detail. Then he explained what the tests would show. What we were looking for. Elevated testosterone levels. Liver damage. Stunted growth. Hormonal imbalances. Psychological instability. Things that could affect Ryan for the rest of his life. I sat there listening. Each word felt like a knife. 6 months. I lived with him for 6 months and didn't see it. Dr. Harris looked at me. His voice was gentle but firm. "This isn't your fault. Abusers are good at hiding. That's how they get away with it for so long. But I was his mother. I should have known." The blood test came back an hour later. Ryan's testosterone levels were 3 times normal for a boy his age. His liver enzymes were elevated. Signs of damage already starting. Dr. Harris filled out forms, page after page, medical evidence, documentation, everything we'd need. "I'm required by law to report this to Child Protective Services. They'll need to investigate." He looked at Ryan. "You won't go home tonight if your father's still there. Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" I'd already called Linda. Ryan could stay with her, just for tonight, just until Michael was gone. Dr. Harris handed me copies of everything. The test results, the examination notes, photos of the injection marks on Ryan's arms, his legs. Ryan sat on the exam table, small, thin, looking younger than 13. "I'm going to fix this." He nodded, but his eyes were empty, like he'd heard promises before that never came true. I called Janet from the car. "I need a restraining order. Today. I'm already working on it. Can you be at the courthouse at 5? "Yes." I called Linda. "Can Ryan stay with you tonight?" "Of course." "What's going on?" "I'll explain later. Just keep him safe." By 5 o'clock, I had everything I needed. Medical records, video evidence, witness statements, legal documents. Now I just had to go home and face him. I dropped Ryan at Linda's house. Watched him walk inside. Safe. At least for now. Then I drove home alone. Michael was already there. 6 o'clock. Earlier than usual. He was in the kitchen making dinner. "Where's Ryan?" "He's staying at my sister's tonight. School project." Michael's eyebrows pulled together. "You should have told me." I didn't answer. Just set my purse on the counter. Watched him move around the kitchen. Confident. In control. Like he owned the space. Like he owned everything in it. He chopped vegetables. His hands steady. Strong. The same hands that had held the syringe. That had pushed the needle into our son's arm. I sat across from him at dinner. Watched him eat. Watched him talk about his day like nothing was wrong. Like he wasn't poisoning our child. Like he wasn't destroying everything we'd built. This wasn't the man I married 25 years ago. Or maybe it was. Maybe I'd just never seen it before. Never wanted to see it. I sat across from him at dinner, and I felt nothing. No love, no anger, just cold, just empty. Just waiting for tomorrow morning when the police would come. The police arrived at 7 in the morning. I'd been awake since 5. Waiting, dressed, ready. Michael was still asleep. I opened the door before they knocked. 2 officers. A woman from Child Protective Services. They showed me the temporary restraining order. Michael had to leave immediately. Couldn't come within 500 feet of Ryan. Couldn't contact him. Couldn't come back to the house. I led them upstairs. To our bedroom, where Michael was still sleeping. Still dreaming. Still thinking everything was fine. The knock on the door woke him up. "Sir, you need to come with us." "What the hell is going on?" He looked at me. standing in the doorway, not crying, not explaining, just watching. What did you do? I protected our son. His face changed, went from confusion to understanding to rage, all in the space of a second. You don't understand. I was helping him. The officers moved between us. He needed this. He's weak. One of the officers held up a phone, showed him something, the video, the one I'd taken, the one that showed everything. Where did you? Michael's voice died. He knew. He knew it was over. They made him get dressed, took him out of the house in the clothes he'd slept in. The neighbors watched from their windows, watched the perfect family fall apart. I stood at the door, didn't cry, didn't move. After they left, I called Ryan. You can come home now. He's gone. Ryan's voice was small, broken. Is it really over? Not yet, but we're safe. He came home that afternoon, walked through the door like he wasn't sure it was allowed, like he thought maybe it was a trick. I held him, really held him, like I should have months ago. That night, we sat in the living room, just the two of us. The house quiet for the first time in months. No footsteps upstairs, no locked doors, no secrets. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Ryan looked down at his hands, took a breath, started talking. It started 8 months ago, not 6, 8. At first, it was just the gym. Dad said I had potential, said I could be great if I worked hard enough. I believed him. I wanted to make him proud. He put me on a meal plan, chicken and rice, protein shakes, no sugar, no junk food. I was hungry all the time, but he said that's what athletes do, that's what it takes. Then he started talking about supplements, special vitamins that would help me build muscle faster, help me recover better. He said all the professionals use them. I didn't know they were steroids, I swear, Mom. He said they were just protein supplements, advanced stuff, legal. When did you find out? 2 months in, I found the bottles in his closet. I Googled the names, testosterone, Anavar, all these things I'd never heard of. I confronted him, told him it was illegal, told him I didn't want to do it anymore. Ryan's voice got quieter. He said this is what winners do. Said if I wanted to be somebody, I had to make sacrifices. Then he asked me if I wanted to be a loser like him. Like him. Those words again. He told me you wouldn't understand, that women don't get it, that this is between men, father and son. He said if I told anyone, they'd take me away from both of you, that I'd end up in foster care. I believed him. The injections hurt. Every time. My arms, my legs, sometimes my stomach. He'd tell me to be tough, to take it like a man. What else happened? Ryan looked up, eyes red. I started throwing up. My head hurt all the time. I'd get angry over nothing, couldn't control it. I punched a hole in my wall once. Dad patched it before you saw. My friends stopped calling. I pushed them away. Didn't know how to explain why I was always angry or why I couldn't hang out anymore because of training. I wanted to tell you, Mom, so many times, but I was scared. Scared he'd hurt you, scared they'd take me away, scared no one would believe me. His voice broke. I'm sorry. I moved to the couch, sat next to him, put my arm around his shoulders. You have nothing to be sorry for. This wasn't your fault. None of it. Do you still love him? The question hung in the air between us, heavy, complicated. I love the man I thought he was. But that man, I don't think he ever existed. I think I just wanted him to. Ryan nodded, leaned his head against my shoulder. I'm glad you found out. I couldn't do it anymore. I thought about ending it. More than once. My heart stopped. I didn't, obviously, but I thought about it. A lot. We're going to get through this. Together. You'll see a therapist. We'll get you healthy again. And your father, he will face consequences. Ryan was quiet for a long time. Then he said something that broke me all over again. He used to be different. When I was little, he used to play with me, read to me. He wasn't always like this. I know. What happened to him? I thought about Michael at 19. Star football player, full scholarship, future ahead of him. Then the injury. The surgery that didn't work. The scholarship gone. The future gone. All of it gone in one play. He got hurt. Lost something he wanted badly. And instead of healing, he just stayed broken. And tried to fix himself through you. That's not fair. No, it's not. We sat there until the room got dark, until the streetlights came on outside, until Ryan's breathing evened out and I realized he'd fallen asleep against my shoulder. I sat there holding him, watching him sleep, his face peaceful for the first time in months. That night, Ryan slept in his room with the door open. No lock, no secrets, just open. And I sat outside in the hallway, keeping watch, making sure he was safe, making sure he knew he'd never be alone again. The next day, I met with Janet at her office, brought everything. The video, the medical records, Ryan's testimony, photos of the injection marks, the bottles I'd found in the closet after Michael left. She spread it all out on her desk, studied each piece, made notes. Her face got harder with every page she turned. On the criminal side, we can pursue child abuse charges, reckless endangerment, maybe more depending on what the prosecutor wants to do. On the civil side, divorce, full custody. He won't have any parental rights if we play this right. How long will this take? 6 months, maybe a year. Depends on whether he fights it. She looked up at me. Are you prepared for this to go public? The school will know. Your neighbors, your family, everyone. I don't care about my reputation. I care about Ryan. People will talk. They'll have opinions. Some will support you. Some won't. Some will say you should have known sooner. Some will say you're overreacting. Let them talk. Janet smiled. Small but real. Good. Because once we file these papers, there's no going back. Michael will fight. He'll hire a lawyer. He'll try to make you look unstable. He'll say you're keeping him from his son, out of spite. Can he win? Not with this evidence. But he can make it ugly, make it long, make it expensive. I thought about Michael. About the man who'd smiled at me over coffee this morning a week ago. The man who'd brought me flowers. The man who'd played the role so well I'd never seen what was underneath. A part of me still wanted to believe he could change, that he'd realize what he'd done and stop. But I couldn't risk Ryan's life on a maybe. We filed the paperwork that afternoon. Restraining order extension, criminal complaint, divorce petition, custody modification, all of it. Janet walked me through every form, every signature, every consequence. The court will require a psychological evaluation. For Michael. Maybe for you too. They'll want to make sure Ryan's in a stable environment. I'm stable. He's not. I know. But they have to check. It's procedure. Fine. She handed me copies of everything. Thick stack of papers, legal language, court dates, case numbers. You're doing the right thing. I know. But it doesn't feel right. It just feels necessary. That's because it is necessary. Right and necessary aren't always the same thing. I left her office with the papers in my bag, walked to my car, sat there for a long time before I started the engine. My phone rang. Unknown number. Michael. He'd found a way to call. Probably borrowed someone's phone. I didn't answer. 2 weeks later, we went to court for the first hearing. Ryan didn't have to be there. He was a minor, protected by law from having to face his father in court. But I had to go. Had to sit in that room and watch Michael pretend to be the victim. He sat at the defendant's table, thinner than I remembered, dark circles under his eyes, his lawyer beside him. Expensive suit, confident smile. The lawyer stood up, gave his opening statement. My client had good intentions. He wanted his son to succeed, to be strong, to have opportunities he never had. Yes, his methods were unorthodox, but his heart was in the right place. I sat there listening, hearing someone twist the truth into something almost reasonable, almost forgivable. Then Janet stood up. She didn't argue, didn't need to, just presented the evidence, one piece at a time. The video, played on a screen for the whole courtroom to see. Michael preparing the syringe, Ryan begging him to stop, Michael injecting him anyway. I watched the screen. Didn't look away, even though every second felt like a knife. The medical records. Dr. Harris's testimony. Ryan's testosterone levels 3 times what they should be. Liver damage already starting. psychological trauma that could last years. This could have killed him, Dr. Harris said. Still might. We won't know the full extent of the damage for years. Michael's lawyer tried to object, tried to say the doctor was exaggerating, tried to say boys take steroids all the time and turn out fine. The judge cut him off. Boys don't take steroids all the time, and when they do, it's abuse. That's what we're here to determine. Michael sat there, head down, wouldn't look at me, wouldn't look at the screen, just stared at his hands. At first, he'd tried to defend himself, stood up, raised his voice. I was trying to help him succeed. The judge stared at him. By poisoning him? Michael sat back down. Didn't say anything else. The judge granted the restraining order extension. 1 year, Michael couldn't come near Ryan, couldn't contact him, couldn't come to the house or the school or anywhere Ryan might be. Mandatory psychological counseling, weekly sessions, proof of attendance required. Visitation rights suspended until further notice. Only a judge could reinstate them. And only if Ryan agreed. Temporary full custody to the mother. Janet leaned over, whispered, "This is a good start. When will the criminal trial be?" 4 months. Maybe sooner. We left the courthouse. I picked up Ryan from Linda's house, drove him home. What happened? He can't come near you. Not for a long time. Ryan let out a breath. Like he'd been holding it for weeks. Good. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number again. I picked up this time. Don't know why. Maybe because I needed to hear it. Needed to know if he'd changed. Michael's voice, quiet, broken. Please, can we just talk? No, don't call again. I hung up, blocked the number. My hands were shaking, after all of it. After everything I'd seen and everything I knew, a part of me still responded to his voice, still remembered loving him. But love isn't enough, not when it costs your child their safety, their health, their life. I blocked his number that night. But I knew this was just the beginning. A month after the hearing, Michael's mother called. How could you do this to him? I didn't do this. He did. He was just trying to be a good father. A good father doesn't inject his child with steroids. She hung up. But the calls kept coming, from Michael's brother, his sister. People who hadn't talked to us in years suddenly had opinions about how I was destroying the family. Some neighbors stopped waving, stopped making eye contact when I walked to the mailbox. Others would smile too wide, ask how I was doing in that voice people use when they're really asking, "Are you okay?" Mrs. Patterson from 3 houses down cornered me at the grocery store. Maybe you should give him another chance. Marriage is hard. People make mistakes. Not at the cost of my son. At school, rumors started. Ryan came home one day, quiet, more quiet than usual. They're saying Dad hit me, or worse. Do you want me to tell them the truth? Not yet. I'm not ready. I respected that. It was his story to tell, his trauma to share or not share. I couldn't take that from him. 2 weeks later, a letter came. Through Janet. From Michael's lawyer. But Michael had written it himself. I could tell by the handwriting. I know what I did was wrong, but I couldn't stop. Every time I looked at him, I saw myself, and I hated what I saw. I thought if he could be strong, maybe I could forgive myself. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve it. But please tell him I'm sorry. I read it twice, folded it, put it in a drawer. Didn't show it to Ryan. Wasn't the right time. Maybe there'd never be a right time. 3 months after the hearing, Ryan started therapy. Regular sessions, twice a week at first. His hormone levels were coming back to normal, slowly. Dr. Harris said it could take a year, maybe more. But Ryan's body was healing. One afternoon, I picked him up from a friend's house. He was smiling, really smiling. We played basketball, just for fun. No practice, no drills, just playing. On the drive home, he looked out the window. "Mom, I forgot how fun it was. Just playing. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be you." But the criminal trial was coming, and I knew the hardest decision was still ahead. I started seeing my own therapist, Dr. Rebecca Morgan, twice a week, same as Ryan. The first session, she asked me a question I wasn't ready for. "Why do you think you didn't see the signs?" I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to. She leaned forward, hands folded. Patient. Many victims of covert abuse feel this way. Your husband isolated you emotionally, made you doubt your instincts. I thought back to all the times Michael had said things. Small things. Things I dismissed. You're overreacting. You don't understand men. Let me handle this. Little by little, I'd stopped asking questions, stopped trusting my gut, started believing that what I felt wasn't real. It wasn't sudden. That's what made it work. It was slow, gradual, like water wearing down stone. Dr. Morgan nodded. He didn't become this person overnight. The control was always there. You just didn't recognize it for what it was. I started seeing the pattern. The way Michael had always made the financial decisions, always had the final say on how we raised Ryan, always positioned himself as the expert, the one who knew better. I thought he was just involved, just being a good father. But involved had become controlling, and I'd let it happen. Do you blame yourself? Every day. Abusers rely on that. They rely on good people blaming themselves. Because as long as you're focused on your guilt, you're not focused on their accountability. Ryan was seeing his own therapist. Dr. Matthews had referred us to a specialist, someone who worked with kids who'd been through trauma. The diagnosis came back: mild PTSD, anxiety disorder. But the prognosis was good. Kids are resilient. Kids heal faster than adults. One night, Ryan came to me after his session. My therapist says Dad probably has his own trauma. That hurt people hurt people. Maybe, but that's not an excuse. I know, I feel bad for hating him. You don't have to hate him, but you don't have to forgive him either. Dr. Morgan helped me understand something I'd been struggling with. Forgiveness isn't a requirement, it's a choice. And it's okay if you never make that choice. But what if people think I'm bitter? What if they think I'm keeping Ryan from his father out of spite? Then they don't understand. Protecting your child isn't spite, it's love. I learned other things too. In those sessions, sitting in that office with the soft lighting and the comfortable chairs, that being a good wife doesn't mean being blind. That being a good mother sometimes means choosing your child over your marriage. That love without safety isn't love at all. 3 weeks before the criminal trial, Dr. Morgan asked me another question. Are you ready to face him? I didn't know the answer. 2 weeks before the trial, Janet called. Michael's lawyer wants to make a deal. Plea bargain. He'll plead guilty to a lesser charge, child endangerment instead of abuse, in exchange for probation. No jail time. What does that mean? Suspended sentence, 2 years, 5 years probation, community service, mandatory therapy, no contact with Ryan until Ryan turns 18, unless Ryan requests it. And if we say no, if we go to trial, he could get 3 to 5 years. But that means Ryan would have to testify. He'd have to sit in court and tell his story to a room full of strangers, to a jury, with Michael sitting right there. What does Ryan want? He said he doesn't want to testify, but he'll do it if you need him to. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, trying to think through the weight of it. We have enough evidence without his testimony, but it's stronger with it. That night, Linda came over. We sat at the kitchen table. Coffee between us. Have you thought about what happens after? After what? After he goes to prison. Do you think Ryan will feel better? Or worse? I don't know. Linda leaned forward. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but Ryan is 13. He might blame himself, might think he put his father in prison. He needs to see that actions have consequences. Or he needs to see that healing is more important than revenge. This isn't revenge. It's justice. Sometimes justice and healing aren't the same thing. I talked to Ryan the next morning, just the two of us, at the kitchen table where we'd had breakfast as a family 6 months ago, before everything changed. If your dad goes to prison, how would you feel? Ryan looked down at his hands. Relieved, but also sad. Is that wrong? No, honey, that's human. He looked up. I don't want to see him, but I don't want him to disappear either. I just want him to stop, and I want him to know what he did was wrong. That night, I stood in front of my closet, saw one of Michael's old shirts, still hanging there, forgotten. I took it down, folded it, put it in a donation bag. Small action, but it meant something. It meant letting go. The next morning, I called Janet. Let's talk about the plea deal. The final hearing was 3 weeks later. Michael pleaded guilty. No trial, no jury. Just him, standing in front of a judge, admitting what he'd done. The judge read the sentence out loud. 2 years suspended, 5 years probation, 300 hours community service, mandatory psychological therapy, weekly sessions, proof of attendance required. No contact with the minor child until the child reaches 18 years of age, or until the child requests contact, whichever comes first. Violation of any of these terms results in immediate incarceration. Do you understand? Michael's voice was quiet. Yes, Your Honor. The judge looked at him. Really looked. Not with anger, with something else. Disappointment, maybe? Or sadness. This boy trusted you, and you betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. You didn't give him strength. You poisoned him. You didn't build his future. You stole his childhood. Michael's head dropped. The judge had asked if Ryan wanted to submit a statement. He did. Janet read it for him. You are not responsible for your father's actions. You are brave for speaking up, and you deserve a life free from this harm. After it was over, Michael tried to catch my eye, tried to say something, but I didn't look, didn't stop, just walked out of that courtroom with Janet beside me. I picked up Ryan from Linda's house. It's over. Did he go to jail? No, but he can't hurt you anymore. Good. That night, I went into his room. The door was open, had been open for months now. No locks, no secrets. Ryan was asleep, peaceful, the way a 13-year-old should sleep. I stood there watching him, remembering the night I'd found out, the night everything changed, the night I'd promised myself I'd protect him. I kept my promise. That night, I slept through, all the way through, for the first time in months. But the real work was just beginning. Life started finding its rhythm again. I went back to work, part-time at first, then full. The office felt normal, familiar, a place where I was just me, not the woman whose husband poisoned their son. Just me. Ryan went back to school, joined the art club, started drawing again, something he'd stopped doing months ago. Evenings, we cooked together, watched movies, talked about his day. Normal things, small things. The house felt different, lighter, like we could finally breathe. We were learning what normal felt like, and it felt good. 2 years passed. Ryan turned 15, taller now, healthier. His body had recovered. The hormone levels go back to normal. The liver damage is minimal. Dr. Harris said he'd gotten lucky. A few more months, and it might have been permanent. He didn't play football, didn't want to. Joined the theater program instead. Found out he was good at building sets, at painting backdrops, at creating worlds. He had friends again. Real friends. The kind who came over and ate all the snacks and left their shoes by the door. The divorce was finalized. I kept the house. Michael moved to another city, 2 hours away, far enough that we didn't run into him at the grocery store. Close enough that he could visit if Ryan ever wanted. He sent child support every month, on time, never missed, never called, never wrote except through lawyers. I got promoted at work, started leading projects, found out I was good at things I'd never tried before, found out I was stronger than I thought. I joined a support group, other single mothers, other women who'd left bad situations. We met every Tuesday night at the community center, drank bad coffee, told our stories, helped each other through. One afternoon, Ryan asked me a question I'd been waiting for. Do you think he ever thinks about me? I think he does. Every day. Do you think he's sorry? I think he's learning what sorry means. Ryan nodded, looked out the window. Sometimes I'm angry. Sometimes I miss him. My therapist says that's okay. It is okay. You're allowed to feel everything. The day Ryan graduated middle school, I stood in the audience. Watched him walk across that stage. Watched him smile. Really smile. No Michael in the crowd. No father watching. But Ryan didn't look for him. Didn't seem to miss him. Just smiled and took his diploma and kept walking. After the ceremony, Ryan came up to me. Thanks for everything, Mom. You did this yourself. No. You saved me. I hugged him, right there in the auditorium, with all the other families around us. And I thought about that night, the night I watched the video, the night everything changed. I'd made a choice, to believe what I saw instead of what I wanted to believe. And it had cost me a marriage, cost me a life I'd built for 25 years. But it saved my son, and that was worth everything. But there was one more thing I needed to do. I decided to share our story, anonymously, on a support forum for parents, a place where people came when they didn't know where else to go. The title was simple. I found a camera in my son's room. It saved his life. I told the whole story, everything, the locked door, the suspicion, the video, the steroids, the choice I'd had to make between my marriage and my child. I hit the post and waited. The responses came within hours, hundreds of them. Other parents who'd been through similar things, others who were going through it right now, others who'd never thought to look but were going to check on their kids that night. One comment stood out. "I'm going to check on my son tonight. Thank you for being brave." Another wrote, "My husband is doing the same thing. Not steroids, but pushing too hard. I'm scared to speak up." I replied, "I wasn't brave. I was terrified. But I learned that protecting your child is always the right choice, even when it means destroying the life you thought you had." The post got shared, then shared again. Someone from a nonprofit organization reached out, asked if I'd be willing to speak at a conference about recognizing hidden abuse in sports parenting. I said yes. The first talk was to 50 parents. In a high school auditorium, I stood at the podium, told the story without the camera, without the shield of anonymity, just me, just the truth. Trust your instincts, always. When I finished, the room was silent. Then someone started clapping, then another, then everyone. Afterward, a woman came up to me, tears in her eyes. "My husband is doing the same thing, not steroids, but the pressure, the control." I thought I was crazy. "You're not crazy. And you know what you need to do." She nodded. "I'm scared." So was I. "But your fear is telling you something. Listen to it." I never thought my pain would help someone else, but that's how healing works. Sometimes I sit in the kitchen, the same place I stood that first night, when I heard the lock click, when everything started. I look up at the ceiling, at the second floor, at Ryan's room. Door open, light on, music playing. Normal sounds, safe sounds. I learned some things through all of this. Things I wish I'd known sooner. Things I hope other mothers never have to learn the hard way. I learned that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden, a locked door, a bruise covered by a sleeve, a child's silence. I learned that being a good wife doesn't mean being blind, that loyalty to your spouse ends where your child's safety begins. I learned that being a good mother means choosing your child, even when it costs you everything, even when it means admitting you were wrong, even when it means facing the truth you didn't want to see. Do I still feel guilty? Sometimes, for not seeing it sooner, for not asking more questions, for believing the lies because the truth was too hard. But guilt doesn't help Ryan. Action did. Do I hate Michael? No, I pity him. He lost everything because he couldn't see what he had, because he was so focused on fixing his own broken past that he broke our son's future. Am I the same person I was 2 years ago? No, I'm stronger, but also gentler. I know now that strength isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. From upstairs, I hear Ryan laugh, on the phone with a friend, making plans for the weekend. And I think, this is what I fought for, this sound, this life, this freedom. If you're listening to this and something feels wrong in your home, trust that feeling. You know your child better than anyone, better than doctors, better than teachers, better than coaches, better than your spouse. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until you're sure, because by the time you're sure, it might be too late. Trust yourself. I know what you're thinking. Speaking up might break your family, might end your marriage, might turn your life upside down. You're right, it might. But staying silent will break your child. And you have to choose. Every parent has to choose at some point between protecting the family you have and protecting the child who needs you. Choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Healing is possible. For all of you. For your child. For you. Even for the person who caused the harm. It won't be fast. It won't be easy. But it's worth it. Your child is counting on you. Be the person they need you to be. And if you're that child, reading this in secret, it's not your fault. Whatever is happening, whatever they're telling you, whatever they're doing, it's not your fault. You're not weak for wanting it to stop. You're not betraying anyone by asking for help. You're not responsible for keeping secrets that hurt you. You deserve safety. You deserve childhood. You deserve to be more than someone else's second chance, more than someone else's broken dream. Tell someone, a teacher, a coach, a friend's parent, a school counselor, anyone who will listen. Call a hotline, text a crisis line. There are people who will believe you, I promise. And to everyone watching, if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. Leave a comment below telling me where you're watching from. If this helped you, subscribe, because there are more stories that need to be told, more truths that need to come to light. I made a promise that day. The day I found out. The day I watched that video. The day everything changed. I promised to protect my son, and I kept it. If you need to make that promise today, this is your sign. Today is the day. Thanks for listening. And remember this: locked doors aren't always about privacy. Sometimes they're about secrets. And secrets, when they hurt children, must be told. This is my story. What's yours?